We're going to go with another person, Patrick. You have some favorites.
I think my favorite, although all of those tools that Violet created and expounded on are wonderful. My favorite, hands down, is sand tray work. I love sand tray work. I think there's something for me about my office is set up with so many different small characters on multiple shelves, that there's sort of a richness in how kids can choose any different representation of any element of their life. So for me, there's a richness, and I think I'm just a natural storyteller. I love stories, and so the sand tray is a medium for me that allows for so many facets of story and storytelling. And also there is the little bit of sensory work also with sand, because oftentimes when kids are at my sand tray, I have a sand tray sort of in the corner of the room with tons and tons of small miniatures everywhere. And I find kids are always putting their hands in the sand even before we begin. And they start talking about, oh, this sand feels really good, or it's cold, or it's warm. And it's just a really nice sensory inroad. And then the other thing that I really like about the sand tray is it allows for, oftentimes I will divide it with my finger into different like quadrants and have kids do different representations of, say, for example, if I'm working with someone who is going back and forth from one house to another in a divorce, I might make a line in the middle of the sand and say, well, make a scene about what it's like to be at your dad's house. And then on the other side of the line, make a scene what it's like to be at your mom's house. So the sand tray allows me sometimes to kind of divide up the space, and I rarely have kids who are reluctant with the sand tray. And that is in part maybe because I try to not make it a real serious activity. I might even say to kids like, you might find this really silly. This may seem really silly to you, but would you do me a favor and let's come over to the sand tray, and and I will specifically say to them, this is not an art contest at all. This, you don't have to be super artistic or creative. And so there are ways that I try to kind of soften it, I guess, in terms of resistance, and help kids, help lead kids into the activity. I also say things like, you can take as much time as you want. It can be as short or as long as you want. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You can just use a few things, or you can use a lot of things all over the shelf and bring everything in. So, I think some of the resistance is minimized by my kind of almost making light of it and having fun. I love working with the sand tray. It's really one of my favorite ways of working. And the part of the sand tray that to me lends itself so well to work with kids is, seeing, even if there aren't different sections of the sand tray, seeing how, as Violet talked about, all the different sections of it are projections of the child's self and parts of themselves. And, when they're done creating the scene, I usually just say something really simple to them, like, well, tell me about this. What an interesting scene. Tell me about this. And kids will begin to, oftentimes I find in the sand tray work that there are different elements of the child's self, maybe, one area that kind of represents school. One thing I do always tell kids is that I want them to put something that reminds them of themselves in the sand tray scene. You know, and then working with the sand tray, you can work with different aspects of the self and literally have the character that is the self travel to different parts of the scene in the sand tray. It could be they travel to their dad's house, or that could be that they travel to school, and you know, then focus on that person in the sand tray, that representation of themselves, to talk about what is it, you know, what is it like to be there? You know, what's it like to be in this school or this home? So for me, the sand tray is like a hands down favorite. I love it. And I love the storytelling part of it. Oftentimes I ask kids also at the end if I can take a photo. And it's so great now with phones that take such good photos. You know, we will, it's kind of at the end of the scene, kind of oftentimes take a photo, and I of course assure them that it's private and nobody else will see it. And then we look at the photo together, and that's really fun, actually. So you know, I it's my favorite. What more can I say? Mm.
You have a question from Pamela. Do you see it? Is it
You know,
different?
I actually don't do online sand tray because all of the kids that I see are in person right now. I'm not doing any virtual work. And so I don't know. I don't do the online sand tray.
And do you talk as they construct or wait until they're done?
I always wait until they're done because I find that if I start talking to kids while they're making it, they start to talk about what's in the sand tray scene, and it takes away from the experience at the end. So I oftentimes will, sometimes I actually get up and I go to my balcony and I trim the plant for a minute, I come back in, or I just sit there and I say, you know, I'd rather you not talk about the scene until we're finished. But if there's something you need, I know where a lot of the stuff is in my office. I may not have it, but let me know and I'll try to find it for you. But no, I don't engage in a dialogue until the scene is finished.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Patrick.
You're welcome.
And it doesn't have to be really different online or in person as far as how you connect with the child, even online. You are sort of holding the space for them either way. And that's bye, John. If you're maybe
He's
you're
going
gone.
off. Yeah.
Okay. You can hold the space either way. And so thank you for sharing how you use it, how you present it, the tone that you set about it, which, you know, the way you describe it, I can feel how that would bring down the resistance in your clients. Because Violet did talk about this in the way that you're talking about it, Patrick, which is it's how we present it. And if we aren't as comfortable with what we're inviting them to do, then they sense it. And that's not all the reasons for children to have resistance or teens, but it's among them. So Patrick, you're presenting how comfortable you are with this media, and I'm sure all the others too. So thank you for highlighting both those points, sand tray and what can happen, how you can minimize resistance. Any thoughts or questions about what we've been presenting here?
I also see kids who use the sand tray dynamically, in the sense that they won't construct a scene, but they begin bringing things in and acting things out right from the very beginning. so that's a different a different kind of tool. Then it becomes a different kind of tool for a different kind of more in the moment, really playing out and mastering something, as opposed to more of a projective tool. So it's versatile, very versatile.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I think, yeah, I've seen that happen too. Definitely. Yeah, thank you.